All right, thanks so much, Chris. Really happy to be here. So a little bit about me. I'm a learning development professional. I've always worked in technology organizations. In the past 7 years or so, I've been in cyber organizations. And I'm a career coach, I'm a leadership coach, and right now, a big bulk of my work is my fractional training lead for two cyber GRC companies. So I do all of their technical training, leadership training, soft skills training, um, you name it, and I do it for these smaller cyber companies. So I know the industry well. I know what it means to go from a junior up to a leader, and I've seen people grow and help them along that path. So today we're going to talk about corporate communication, business presence, and then roadmap development. And we're starting in this way so we can kind of talk about some skills that I think are important to have as you grow your professional career, how you need to show up, and then how do you get to where you want to go. So we'll start off here with corporate communication. And, I love this cartoon. It just kills me. So sometimes we think we have to have all these fancy words. We have to sound like, we have to sound like we know what we're talking about. And, we have to, but when the reality is that as tech professionals, we have to communicate really complex topics. And sometimes the audience doesn't always have the same technical vocabulary or same technical understanding that you do. And so there's no reason to use these big words. It's more important to stay clear and concise. So, the people who can share technical information in a really approachable way are the people who get invited back to meetings. Those are the people who get put in front of clients. So what you need to do, here are some tips. These are just, coming out of Karlin's brain, right? When you think about corporate communication, whether it's written or whether it's spoken. So listen first. And when I say listen, I mean like really, really listen. I have been to so many meetings where I show up and I can tell there's a person in the corner waiting to talk. They're not listening to what anybody's saying. They're just waiting, and they're waiting. All of a sudden they just say what they have to say, and they're probably reiterating something I've already said or bringing up a point that somebody else said because they're not listening. Listen first, then speak. Another thing is less is more. You don't have to talk for 10 minutes when you can get a point across in just a couple. Less is more when it comes to speaking. Less is more when it comes to writing. Another thing is using cooperative language. I worked with a gentleman one time, and he was always like, well, I came up with this idea and I did this and I did that. And it was never a we. When you use that more we focused language, it comes across as more collaborative. It means that you're including everybody and not just thinking about yourself. Another thing that I work with a lot of junior consultants, and it's don't be afraid to not know something. It is totally okay. There's technology is changing so fast and there's so much going on. It's okay to not know anything, and it's never appropriate to try to wing it because people will know, they'll see through you every time. So you can say something like, wow, that's a technology I haven't heard of. Let me, I can't really answer that question. I will look it up and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you later today. So it's okay to not know things. We can't all know all the things. So another thing is to get good at asking open, powerful questions. Tell me more about that. What was the situation when you're feeling really frustrated? How can I help? It's asking more questions like, instead of asking those, ask these open questions that get people talking. People like to talk about themselves, and that leads to stronger relationships. So let's talk about writing a little bit. We're not going to do a writing workshop or anything, but I'm very passionate about writing, even though we have ChatGPT now, which is great. If you want to use it, it's absolutely fine, but ChatGPT gets you so far. Then you have to go back in and look at it and make sure that it's relevant to what you're talking about, and that it feels authentic and it feels warm. And the other thing is that you can't put in customer data into ChatGPT. You can't put a proprietary data. So there's a limit to what ChatGPT can do for you. So it's important to understand good writing principles on your own, and that means being consistent. Consistent formatting means being concise. I generally will write an email. I'll write a big long email, and then I will cut 20% off later on. You don't need to have these long novels. You need to have emails that are easily accessible. People know what they need to do. They don't have to search through 3 or 4 paragraphs. Be really clear in your writing. Again, use more simple language and complete. complete sentences. My biggest tip for corporate communication, and this works especially well when you are when you're communicating up the chain to executives. So it's called top lining, or also bottom line on top. If you need for somebody to do something or someone to know something really important, put it at the top. So it might be, hi, Steve, we need a decision on moving the deadline from Friday to Wednesday. Then you can provide all the detail. Because think about somebody who's running around, they're a busy leader, they're on their phone and they open it up and they see this much of your email. Have that most important piece of information at the top, and you will much more easily get someone's attention than if you bury that action down at the bottom. You probably won't get the response you need because they don't want to have to wade through all of the details. So communication is only effective when we communicate in a way that is meaningful to the recipient and not to ourselves. How do you like to receive email? Maybe you're a person who likes a lot of data. You want all the data up front when you're being communicated to. Maybe you want to be communicated with one. Maybe it is a really direct approach. Maybe it is with enthusiasm or super, super succinct. Or maybe it's thorough. You can think of a time, just kind of think in your head, think of a time when you received information in a way that was in a way other than what you would have wanted. So we've got some people here saying, well, don't just call me or schedule a meeting. Don't just, don't just do it that way. I need a little bit more than that. Lead with good news. Yes, always start off with the good instead of the bad. That's awesome. Sometimes you have to have that tough conversation. You don't want to sugarcoat it, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the way people communicate. So there's this communication process, and maybe you've seen this before. No two people are the same, and we all are comprised of our different experiences, background, education, social status, culture, personality, nationality, religion, whatever it is. We all have this different background to bring to any conversation, and all of this influences the way that we see and interpret the world around us. And if we want to be effective in our communication, then we have to consider the other person's reality and not just act from our own perspective. So in an ideal world, so if you look at this diagram here, in the ideal world, the sender formulates a message and they choose a channel, maybe it's chat, maybe it's a text, whatever, and they send it to the receiver. The receiver interprets it, and then they choose an appropriate channel to send back. And that's a perfect world. But what can go wrong? What can go wrong in communication? Maybe the sender's message is unclear. Or maybe it's challenging for the person to understand. Maybe it's not the right channel. I can't tell you how many times I tell people, just pick up the phone. You can't if you have an email chain you're on your 7th or 8th thread, it's probably time for a phone call. So understanding what the right channel is for your communication is really important. The interpretation part, right? The receiver might be having a bad day. You might be communicating in a way that normally works for this person, and for whatever reason, had a flat tire on the way to work or whatever, and it's just your message that you wanted to send is being received in a different way. So it's always important to put that other person first. We have maybe you're not on the same page, and so there's some sort of misunderstanding, and so you have one picture in your mind, and somebody else has another picture in their mind. It's like, you're talking about the same thing, but you both have this different image of how things should be. And I mean, great point there about, misinterpretation on text. You can, it's really easy to misread tone in a text. If it's a phone call or, Zoom or whatever, then you can get a little, those visual cues. So what you should consider is, what message do I want to convey? What do I know about the other person? How will they best understand or be interested in what I have to say? What or how would I like that person to feel after we have our conversation? Do I want them to feel enthusiastic? Do I want them to feel really motivated to go do something? Do I want them to feel like I have their back? Whatever it is, think about that too. What actions do I want the other person to take as a result of our conversation? So how do you want them to feel? What action do you want them to take? Think about these concepts and conversations that you have. So now as you think about growing your career, I talk a lot about managing up. We think, oh, well, my manager manages me, my manager manages down. Well, there's also an art to managing up. There is an art to sharing information in a way that your manager will more readily understand, that will maybe build your own brand. And so this is one way that I love to share, which is bringing up issues. You don't ever want to be seen as the person who is, always negative, is always bringing up, always bringing up problems, but never really solutions. And one way to think about this when you need to go to your manager for help is this model, which kind of a weird name, SCAR, but it really works. And so it's the situation, it's the context, your analysis of what you think is going on, and then your recommendation. So let's look at an example. Here's a situation. The team has been working on automating this one data analysis task to help a deadline, and it's not working, and we're likely to miss go live. Okay. We had several ideas, but in the end, we went with Jordan's ideas because he was really pushing hard. We should have spent more time trying out some of our ideas instead of running with this. And so then, of course, the boss is going to say, well, what do you think? What should we do? Well, I think we need to cut our losses and do this manually to meet the deadline. I think it's going to mean putting aside some other work. Then, as a team, we need to evaluate all the ideas to see which one to go with. So imagine using a model like this when you're bringing an issue to your manager rather than coming to your manager and saying, we're going to miss the deadline. And, Jordan's being a jerk as always. When you show them that you are using your critical thinking skills, you've analyzed the problem, you have brought a solution, and maybe that's not the solution that you agreed to, but at least you have brought a solution, you're going to be seen as somebody who they're going to go back to for other problems to resolve. You're going to be seen as somebody who maybe they want to increase your responsibility, give you stretch opportunities because you're showing that you are thinking about more than just the immediate, that you are somebody who's there to help the team and to help the organization. And it really can help your brand. And that's kind of where we're going to go next, is into your brand. So business presence, what does this mean? Well, you can't have a strong business presence without being self-aware. You have to be able to step outside yourself and imagine how you're showing up and how it's being received. And so some things to think about when you're thinking about being self-aware is, what adjectives would someone use to describe you at your best? How would they describe you at your worst? Pensive or not being good with action. What adjectives would you use to describe yourself at your best and at your worst? What are your professional strengths? What professional skills would you like to develop or enhance? What is your professional vision? What motivates you? Is it money? Is it responsibility? Is it flexibility? Is it a combination of those things? And then what are your core values? Asking yourself these questions and checking in will begin to help you build your business presence. Because if you think, I think my team members might think that I'm a little bit impatient, then you can think about showing up differently. Okay, I need to make sure and wait to ask the questions and not be so impatient and not interrupt people. Thinking about where you're strong and how and where and what you can enhance. So again, being self-aware is one of the strongest skills of being an effective professional and being an effective leader. And really, it's all about, it's about being authentic. It's being and not being somebody who you're not. Think about, don't try to be somebody who shows up in the business suit and that's not who you are. Okay. So when you think about that presence online, you're in a Zoom meeting or, Teams meeting, what background do you have? I was training some new consultants, and one guy had his laundry basket in the background. Be mindful what's your background. Just blur it. Just use a background. Think about your camera direction. I've been in meetings with people where they're sitting like this and then they turn, right? And they're sitting like this and then they turn. That means you're not engaging with a person that you're talking to. Lighting is another one. I did a leadership development session last week, and one gentleman, really nice guy, and it was so dark. He had no light whatsoever, and he was kind of looking down, and I had a hard time even understanding what he was saying because I couldn't read his body language, but I kind of could, and it was really dark. And he was on he was on a call with his peers and some leaders. So you have to think about these kinds of things in the way that you show up. Dwight, good point. Self-awareness can help you be more empathetic to others because you're thinking about how you are having an impact on someone else. So then think about your business presence in person. You got to know your audience. Are you in a big professional meeting where you need to dress up and wear wear your nice pants and your tie, or whatever it is? Or is it more of a casual meeting and everyone's wearing their hoodies or their logo wear or whatever it is, right? So know your audience. If you're going on a customer site, know what the customer site is. What's appropriate there. You wanna dress the part. Are you showing up as a consultant? Are you a pen tester who wears a hoodie and that's what they expect? Understand how to dress for different situations. I know this amazing woman. She's a hacker. She's a leader, and she wears bow ties. She wears bow ties and button downs, and she wears these quirky glasses. And she is amazing because she delivers results. She knows her stuff, and her team loves her because she's a fantastic manager. She's not showing up inauthentically, in a way with fancy business clothes. She's absolutely who she is with her bow tie. But because she knows her stuff, and because she's such an expert, she has this fantastic presence and she has this fantastic brand. So what is your brand? Who are you, and how do you show up, and how do you want to be seen? So let's talk about relationship building. All work is done through relationships. It's just how it is. So spend some time getting to know the people in your organization or your industry or your community. You've got all the people here in the Study GRC group. Get to know these people. These are relationships. You never know when there's a job somewhere and you know somebody and they can connect you. All the work that I have in my coaching consulting business, I have gotten through referrals. And it just keeps compounding on itself. It's because of the relationships that I have built over the past several years. So when you think about those relationships, what do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known as the person who helps everyone? Do you want to be known as supportive? Do you want to be known as a wicked expert in your field? What is it that you want to be known for? Then think about what impact you're having on those around you. And are you acting in alignment with your values? Have you identified your professional purpose? And are you moving in that direction? And people in your network can help you do that. A lot of times people say, if I just had a mentor, I could have this fantastic career. And what I recommend instead is finding multiple people you can have a coffee conversation with. Maybe there's somebody who's in cyber engineering and you want to understand that better. So you reach out, hey, I want to understand your role and really how to get onto the engineering side of things, and would love to spend 45 minutes with you if you have the time. I'd really like to get into sales, even though I come from this technical background. Could we chat for 30 minutes? Having these micro conversations, but instead of searching for a mentor who can help you for a year, is going to be a much easier task for you to accomplish. Karlin has a question. I didn't know you were on this call. Hello. How do you tailor your business presence on the different audience groups or platforms that you engage with? And so I always think about, I do a little bit of research. I do a little bit of research on who I'm talking to. Am I talking to a group of mid-level managers? Am I talking to executives? Am I talking to junior consultants who are really fresh out of college? I don't want to come across to a bunch of junior consultants as too lofty, too high up. I want them to understand that I'm there to help, but that I'm relatable, and that I'm there for them. So you do a little bit of research, ahead of time. So we've got Dwight saying he wants to articulate wanting to be, make an impact, or, impact maker better. What you're saying, Dwight, is you want to be able to tell your story. What is the story of who you are and what you want to be? And that is something that you can practice, and you absolutely should practice. And micro-mentoring is mentoring, co-mentoring. That's awesome. Okay, so let's go on a little bit to the roadmap. So when you're thinking about your roadmap, first thing you need to do is think about your time horizon. And you can think about your time horizon in chunks, which is think about what you want to do in a year. Think about then, okay, well, where might I want to be in 3 years? And then maybe where do I want to be in 5 years? More than 5 years, it starts becoming real abstract, and that's okay. I mean, you could have like a 10-year goal of early retirement or something like that, but try to get it, more reasonable, more achievable in a shorter amount of time. But think about those chunks, because it will help you break down bigger tasks into smaller tasks. Next thing you should do is identify your resources. So if you haven't played around with the NICE framework on the CISA.gov site, absolutely go there. It has cyber categories and compliance categories, and then it has all kinds of job titles underneath. It's a great place to explore and understand what kinds of skills you need to develop to get into the area that you want to get into. I also love Paul Jeremy's security certification roadmap and his security career roadmap. Those are two other tools that are fantastic. The certification roadmap, if you haven't played around with that, tells you. And so where are you going to start? Where do you want to start, and see how you fit, and see what works for you and what you enjoy doing. And then you might find something like, I thought I was going to like this, but I actually don't. So I'm going to go try something else. So there's all kinds of other ways to think about your career, not just your job title. You can think about sort of general directions. So think about, do you really want to be a principal? Like a technical SME, does that really sound like, I just want to be the very best? I want to know the most. I know a gentleman like this. He probably is in the top 5 people in the country in FIPS encryption. Like, he knows it better than anyone I have ever met. And that's just his thing. Or, do you also want to be a people leader? Does that really motivate you to think about leading a team and getting work done through others? Maybe it's being a sales engineer and doing technical sales. Those people are sorely needed because they understand the product, the service better than most salespeople. Better than most salespeople do. Nothing against salespeople, but having a technical background, that it can be a really great career path for you. That's not necessarily doing the hands-on work. And being a consultant. Do you want to get into more of an advisory position? So you're going and doing FedRAMP advisory. So rather than doing the audit side of FedRAMP, where you're going through all the control families and seeing if everything's in place, you're over here getting them ready, like doing their readiness assessment, or maybe it's doing remediation with them. So being a consultant can also be a great career path, and it's good for people who love to be in front of other people, who love to engage, who love to ask a lot of questions and establish those relationships. Being a technical project manager is another good career path, because you have to understand the intricacies of all these technical projects. Being an investigator, a pen tester, or is your ultimate goal in 10 years, do you want to be an ISO or a CISO? Is that where you're going? Because that's a foundational path that you have to lay very purposefully. You're not going to become an ISO tomorrow, right? So think about the direction that you want to go. And so where are you strong? Think about where you're strong. I'm really good with people. I'm really good in conversations. So lean into that. What development do you need? Well, my time management's maybe not where it should be. Maybe I need to work on getting more organized. Okay, so maybe that's an area of development. Having that self-awareness of where you're strong and where you can have some development opportunities will help you on your roadmap. And sometimes I say, if there's stuff that you're really not good at, let it go. You don't have to be good at everything. So maybe there's some, certain things. It's like, that's actually not my wheelhouse. I don't ever want it to be in my wheelhouse. So I'm going to kind of just push that out of. That's a great question. Okay. Can I be a business owner? We have these fears. We have these fears that we develop in our heads. We have these stories that we tell ourselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I could never do that. We tell ourselves these stories, and you can absolutely do it. If you would have asked me 5 years ago that I would be, running my own successful business, I would have been like, no, I won't. I'm gonna retire and working for some tech company, and that's just how it's gonna be. And I don't know, I just did it. I said, you know what? Now's the time. It just felt like a really right time, and I made some mistakes, and I've done some good things, and I did it. And you too can absolutely do it. But you're right. You have to think about that vision and start thinking those empowering thoughts, and think about where you want to be and how you want to get there. So as you think about this roadmap, it could be more certifications. I'm not saying go out and get 20 certifications, but it might be getting some additional certifications, especially getting a CISSP or a CISA, or starting out with something like Security Plus, or even if you want to get into cloud, I always recommend AWS Cloud Practitioner or the CCSK. Those are great entry-level cloud certifications, and having those can be a way to kind of bump things up. And at the same time, don't spend the rest of your life just getting certifications, because at some point you have to do the work. Sometimes a master's degree can be helpful. It's not always helpful and it's not always necessary, but that might be the right thing. That might be the right thing for the direction that you want to go. Okay, Brian, you've asked the $1 million question. How do you pivot into cyber with no IT background? But, transferable software skills. This is a really, this is a really interesting question. So I want to make sure I say this carefully. Some ways to get into cyber. You could go into a cyber company and get into their help desk or their IT team and then move in. I have seen people do that. I saw Gen 1, he was on our help desk team and he moved into high trust and was doing high trust assessments. And so that's one way to do it. Like, get into a cyber organization with your tech skills. I would say, don't be afraid to take a lateral move. Don't be afraid to take a slightly lower role if you can see the trajectory that it will take you. You might need to take a more sort of like assessment kind of role in GRC, like going in and assessing, FedRAMP or SOC or ISO or high trust, something like that. More of that, more on the assurance side than moving into more of the consulting type cyber stuff. If you wanted to get into pen testing, I will tell you that pen testers do a lot of their work not at work. They're doing hack the box, they're doing capture the flag, they're out there, they're constantly doing that kind of stuff. They're getting known in the community. It's going to be much easier for you to go get a pen testing job, especially if you want to start with something like AppSec. AppSec is a great entry point to pen testing. If you're known, you have a handle and everybody knows who you are and you've been at these events, you're going to be more likely to get into that kind of role. All right, I'm trying to catch up with chat. We have someone here saying the best way I've noticed to pivot is by swapping departments in the company you may already be working in. Absolutely. People love to help you in an organization. I always say, as a leader, your next role, I'm going to help you get your next role, whether that's a promotion with me or whether that's in another department or whether that's in another organization. I want to help you get to the place that you want to go. And there's so many managers that are like that too. They want the best for you. And so, yeah, absolutely. Build up some credibility, build the relationships on the team you're on, and then work with your manager and say, hey, can I do some job shadowing? Could I sit in some meetings? I'm really interested in this career path. Most people are going to say yes. You're not saying, hey, can you promote me into this role? You're saying, hey, can I learn about what it is that your team does? Because I'm super interested. All right. So when you think about creating your development plan, we all talk about SMART goals. Don't worry about over smartifying your own personal goals. It just, you're getting too in the weeds and you're spending too much time in the nitty gritty of your goals. Think about, what's your goal? I want to be a consultant in a Big 4 firm. I want to be, I want to be a pen tester. I want to be, a team lead in an insurance company, like whatever that is. Think about the goal. And then break it down. Okay, so think about the certification that you might need. Think about the job shadowing you might need to do. Think about the conversations you might need to have. And those are your action steps. So what is your goal? What are your action steps? 3 to 5 maybe. And then by when are you going to do this? And what's really important, which some people don't realize or think about when they are setting goals, is how you hold yourself accountable. What's going to be there for you when you're off track? And we all get off track. I've got one particular goal I'm working on right now, and I just keep having to restart. I'm like, I'm going to do it. Is it that that it's a friend and you tell this person, hey, can you just check in with me like once a week and say, have you studied for that certification yet? So maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a calendar reminder. Maybe it's telling everybody in, a team that you work on that you're going to do something because you want some public accountability. How will you hold yourself accountable to the goals that you set? And think about those goals again in terms of that time horizon. Is this something that I kind of want to do in the next 6 months? What do I want to be working towards in the next couple of years? And then that long-term goal, I want to be the CISO, right? So time horizon is really important when you think about your roadmap. And then once you have that roadmap, reflect on it. When do you need to revisit it? Do you need to revisit it? Maybe it's quarterly. Maybe it's just, twice a year. Revisit the roadmap and don't beat yourself up if you have not reached a particular goal or accomplished a certain thing you want to do. It's okay. The check-in is for yourself to stop, recalibrate, reorganize, and move forward. Maybe you picked a goal that was too aggressive. That's okay. Maybe you started moving down that path and you realized it wasn't really a good fit and you need to change. That's okay too. That's why the check-ins are important. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is that self-awareness piece. Am I self-aware enough to say, wow, I think I bit off more than I can chew and I need to adjust? So envisioning where you want to be is a powerful way to help you achieve your goals. And once you create a development plan for yourself, imagine what it might feel like for you in the future if you have accomplished your goals. And just imagine, I'm sitting at my desk and I've got this job and I've got this team. It's really great. Imagine how it feels. It's a good motivator. So your homework tonight from me, and it will take you 2, 3, 4 minutes. I want you to think about maybe a year from now, maybe it's 3 years from now. I want you to think about where you'll be in your career. I want you to think about it, and then you choose whatever time horizon it is you want, and then write an I statement, maybe 2 I statements about where you are. That could be like, I am a director. I have work-life balance. I'm enrolled in a master's program. I'm professionally fulfilled. I'm learning every day. Whatever that is for you, just think about that tonight right before you go to bed. What is my I am statement that's going to take me into the future and begin to move along that path? So, all right, so we've got that comment. Oh, building training would be someone who has strong soft skills. That's awesome. Chris has got about 5 questions lined up. That's awesome. So we've got one more slide and then we can open it up for questions, Chris. So we've all had jobs, some good jobs, some bad jobs. I worked in a yogurt shop for a long time. We've all had jobs. And maybe you're in a job right now, and that's okay. We all have to pay bills. We all have to do exactly what it is to take care of our own needs and our family needs. But then one day you kind of realize, like, oh, wait, I think I know what my career is. Like the job, it's not just this like job that I show up for, it's this career, and you can feel it. You know the difference when you've hit that career. Then, so it's not just a job anymore. Then when you're in the flow and you're working in alignment with your values, you're using your strengths, that's when you find your purpose. That's when you find your purpose. I discovered about 9 years ago my career purpose, which is to help others be better in their jobs, period. My career purpose is to help others be better in their jobs, whether that's be better leaders, be better technically, just be better humans, whatever it is. That's what I'm good at. And that's where I focus my time. So you have to pick a direction, and you have to be okay if you hit an unexpected curve. Lord knows I've had some dumpster fires in my life. So the trick is to stay true to your values and to keep moving towards your purpose. That's it.